Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It is week 17, the week between Christmas and New Year's, the fantasy finals, of course. We hope you are still alive. We hope even if you're not still alive, you're listening to us to get the full breakdown, beginning with the Lions at the Cowboys, one of the highest total games of the entire season. We'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, I mentioned Christmas. Not everyone celebrates Christmas. Not our audience celebrates Christmas. We do happen to celebrate Christmas. And I was just wondering, what do adults in 2023 America get for Christmas? And Denny Carter, you unsurprisingly said you had some thoughts on this. What did you
do? Look, I know that it's kind of funny to say like dads get underwear and socks for Christmas. It's just what they get. But what they don't tell you is that we appreciate the underwear and socks. Some of us need the underwear and socks. I've been looking at the holes in my socks for a while, in multiple pairs, right? And I'm talking about significant holes, not just a little threadbare. I'm talking about holes, okay? And I'm thinking I need new socks, but I know Christmas is coming up. I'm looking at this, in October, November. So I'm like, I'm not buying them. I know Santa will come through. Santa came through. He got me a lot of socks. I don't mean a normal amount. I mean a total retooling of the sock situation.
Wow.
Also, the underwear that I've been wearing for God knows how long, that's out the door.
Wow.
And we have slightly larger underwear for a 40-year-old me. So that's fine. Amazing. I appreciate it. Thank you, Santa. Shout out to Santa.
Denny, would it surprise you that I'm high key enough that I would I would seriously rather be dead than wear socks that had holes in them? If there's even little tiny hole in the trash, it goes. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my socks, and I frankly find your sock strategy repulsive.
Kyle, you were nodding your head. You understand the sock situation, it seems like.
Oh yeah, I was sort of happy to have a sock with holes in it when I saw my grandma, because I knew she was gonna get me socks. It's like Arthur Smith, first down and 10. You don't need to question what he's gonna do. I know I was getting socks from her, so I sort of somewhat intentionally wore socks with holes just so I'd be like, thanks, Grandma.
That's
but
funny.
It's not as if I don't have 30 pairs of socks with holes. Like it was not hard to find one and be like, I've been wearing this for a year. Thanks, Grandma. But for the most part, I just got cold because I had to watch freaking Chiefs blow it and suck. Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Santa Claus.
That's good. So your grandma established the sock, is what you're saying.
She did.
Yes, she did.
And my family established the book. That's the only thing I ever think of anymore is I ask for 7 different books, and then everyone gets them because they're just desperate for anything to know to get me. And
when I was a kid, I got a book I was in 4th grade or something, and I got a book for Christmas, and it was from a relative, and I audibly go, a book? Yeah. And my mom, without describing physically what she did, it's like, you go say thank you right now, after just spitting in the face of someone who did a genuinely nice thing and got me a book.
Yeah. Books as kids, not the most exciting thing, especially when there were, I don't know, video games to be.
Books are one of the last gifts I feel like you can get adults. I mean, not everyone reads, of course, but I feel like I think I've gone on this rant on the show before, but the collapse of physical media so greatly constricted what you can actually give. You used to be able to give people CDs and movies, and it was amazing. Like the easiest thing in the world. You would just know this person would want this CD or this movie, and like, Dad, I got you 4 movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, son. You can.
Remember buying box sets of DVDs?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
I was going to say, Pat, when you said, Dad, I got you 4 movies, you meant, Dad, I got you Die Hard Collector's Edition, Die Hard Director's Edition.
Of course.
That used to be so cool to be able to be like, I got you the whole Frasier box set. And now it doesn't matter.
I got you a Prime gift card that you'll lose within 5 minutes of receiving.
I wasted $80 on the whole Frasier series at Sam Goody in 2003, and I honestly want my money back.
Only 80, huh? Well, I guess we need to get on to talking about the actual football games, beginning with the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys. They are meeting up for one of the highest total games of the entire year in Dallas, Texas. The Cowboys checking in as roughly touchdown favorites, now more like 5.5 points, Denny. It has been a simple narrative for Jared Goff this season. Fire him up at home, sit him on the road. But can he and the Lions passing attack get home in this offensive environment in what is known as Big D?
I struggle to see how this game doesn't shoot out. And obviously, the Lions want to be run first, not even balanced. They want to be run first. They've been under their expected drop back rate in 4 of their past 6 games. Really, the only way that Goff is going to have volume on his side here is if they're forced into negative game script and really have to go at Dallas from from a trailing standpoint. Teams do, I will say, teams pass at a really high clip against the Cowboys when they are down at the second highest clip since week 10. So we could see Goff like fall into volume, but I don't think that's the plan here. I think that the team really, really wants to keep the ball in the hands of Gibbs and Montgomery.
So it means Goff in the top 12. I'm putting Goff in the top 12 this week. Frankly, do not see how the game does not shoot out. I really do not see how it does not, because it's a deeper week at quarterback. So Kyle, do you think it's good or bad to have Goff in the top 12? What are your thoughts there? You made a face.
I think that's about right. Like you guys said, the Lions are just a malleable version of the Falcons. They're good at and want to run the football a lot, but they probably do it better. I mean, for sure they do it better. And they're smart enough to know when they can't afford to do the, first down 10, second down 7, both runs. So I think as long as the Cowboys hold up their end of the bargain, which they have done not every week, but most every week for the past 2 months now.
Unlike the Miami Dolphins, the Cowboys actually score some points when you need them to.
That is correct.
I'll say.
Look, you put the Dolphins against an FCS team and they drop 70 on them. Just don't make them play a real team.
Oh, stop! They did beat the Cowboys, by the way.
I do. We'll get to the Dolphins in a second, but I do feel like they've entered the we don't want to score too much mode, which is annoying. By the way, people need to, I think, really think of the Lions as far as passing, pass rate goes, along lines of like the Bears and the Steelers and the Patriots, like that. And if you look at pass rate over expected numbers, that's where they fall. So I think if they have game script on their side, I think Montgomery and Gibbs could go berserk against this pretty soft Dallas rush defense over the past month.
I think their flexibility kind of reminds me of the Eagles from last year, in which like the Eagles had the defense last year where they didn't always have to throw the football. If they were against a team with a good pass rush, but we're playing from a lead, like, sure, congrats. You have a good matchup on the edge. We're just going to run down your throat. And that's kind of how this team is. Their defense, not as bad as the Eagles are this year, not as good affording them spots like the Eagles were last year, but they are that sort of team where they'll pick at your weaknesses. But at the end of the day, if they're up 14, you know what they're going to do.
The bank examiner is going to have a heyday if Gibbs doesn't go nuts in this game. I'm pretty confident.
Got some tuition riding on Gibbs?
No, well, yeah, now, ever since I went personally to file for personal bankruptcy because of Calvin Ridley, we have refinanced into Jahmyr Gibbs. We like our chances. Kyle, the next bullet point just says Pollard washed update. What's the update on Tony Pollard being totally washed?
The good news is, by all of the efficiency metrics, he's far less washed. Does that mean he's dirtier, or is he like fully clean at this point? I don't know what the extension of that analogy is. Weeks 1 through 9, I mean, he was just beyond dreadful. He was 58th in missed tackles forced per attempt, 39th in yards after contact, 49th in PFF rush grade. I mean, there are 32 NFL teams, meaning there are 32 starting running backs. Didn't sniff the top 32 in any of those. And then since week 10, he ranks in those metrics 8th, 11th, and 4th. That's perfect. The bad news is he has not scored any more fantasy points over that stretch. He has like 3 touchdowns in the past 7 or 6 weeks. But to me, the play with Pollard was always he'll get more volume and he'll be a really talented running back. He was getting the volume and just simply didn't look talented, but he was coming off of what was a high ankle and broken fibula. I'm not a doctor.
It was bad. It was real bad.
It was bad.
And so it was bad. It was bad. So now we still have the volume, but we're starting to get the efficiency in terms of like the advanced metrics.
When are we getting the Mosterding? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like we should be getting the Mosterding at some point here. He's getting all the touches. He looks good. I mean, and this is an extremely high total, but they're also favorites. This is the Mosterding, because for a while we were like, for him to be the guy who goes out there and is the RB1 overall in any given week, you do have to be efficient. Like volume drives a lot of fantasy production, but over expectation is how you become Christian McCaffrey. Like Christian McCaffrey's usage isn't so much better than anyone else. It's among the best in the league, but he's the best by a wide margin. Pollard's looking pretty good these days and is still getting volume and it's in a great spot. Your 9th place teams are going to love week 17.
They are absolutely going to love it. Your Diggs, Pollard stacks are going to go off in the consolation championship game. Denny,
Pollard,
thought.
Yeah, listen, this will make people feel better. Pollard is 4th in expected running back points this year. Okay.
Whew.
All right. So if you play in expected points leagues, you're just crushing at this point with Tony Pollard. But yeah, he came out in November, by the way. I feel like this wasn't discussed. He came out in November, was like, yeah,
I blurbed it. I know what you're going to bring up.
Yeah. He's like, I'm healthy now, by the way.
And
what? It's November 23rd.
I think it was after Thanksgiving. It was like November 30th.
Yeah, I know. I'm good now. I'm good. 3 months into the season, I feel okay from my horrific broken leg last year.
He said he overestimated how quickly he could return. I would say the Dallas Cowboys did as well. Denny, real quick, which ancillary Cowboys players do we particularly like against this really bad Lions pass defense? Brandon Cooks has not been getting home now for several weeks.
No, Cooks, his receiving profile is not great. Over the past 4 games, CeeDee Lamb leads the team with 32% target share. Jake Ferguson is second with 20%, which is really strong, by the way, for a tight end. He's a good play here. 11% for Brandon Cooks over those 4 games, but he does have a 25% air yard share. And while you can't metabolize air yards, it does mean that he is seeing some action down the field. So he's a boom bust wide receiver 3-4. You don't feel good about him, but if this game shoots out, if this game's a high volume game as far as plays go, I think Brandon Cooks can possibly get there.
Give Troy Aikman one good game. He's been about to go insane. There's been some good Monday night games this year, actually, but when they're not good, Troy, it's very, very sad.
All I know is that Troy is going to want the Cowboys to always, quote, take the points.
Troy's kind of backed off that a little bit. I frankly love Troy.
He's worse than ever.
Listen, I love Chris Collinsworth is the best color analyst in the game, but I love Troy and his surliness, and he gets a little better each year in my opinion.
We get better. I mean, he still hates touchdowns.
I'm telling you, if you watch, you should delve into this more. He's been embracing touchdowns. He really, really detests bad quarterback play. He gets like abjectly disgusted.
No, he does, and that makes sense. Play. That makes sense as a former.
Yeah, I don't know if he gets the parts of the game that we get, but he does get the vibes of the games that we get.
Exactly.
Like you said, the bad quarterback play that actually did it for me. I was like, oh, he does actually get like you said, surly. He gets a little rambunctious when he sees bad throws, and like I respect that.
Dude, Troy and Chris used to be in the same booth, I believe. Crazy. We love Chris Collinsworth. We love Mike Tirico. We love this quick break. We'll be right back after this. This holiday season, get the fantasy fan in your life, the exclusive Rotoworld Draft Guide bundle featuring expert analytics, player insights, and season-long tools. Get all 3 of the draft guides for one low price. Go to NBCsports.com/holiday bundle and use code HOLIDAY23 at checkout to receive 25% off and a $10 Fanatics gift card. Kyle, the Buffalo Bills got cute in week 16 against the Chargers, which means they actually got extremely ugly and almost lost. They really, 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 really wanted to lose to Easton Stick. They're almost 2 touchdown home favorites against the New England Patriots this weekend. Will they remain, quote, giga ultra run heavy against our Pats? Kyle, you are muted.
You're on mute.
Will they remain really hella mega run heavy against the Pats?
I should keep myself muted and make you just do versions of that line like 10 times in a row. So since firing Ken Dorsey, they have been at a -5% pass rate over expected. They have been, in most of Josh Allen's tenure, especially since we've known him to be his MVP caliber quarterback, an extremely high pass rate over expected team. Now, I will say a lot of that -5 number comes from an absurdly run-heavy script in which they just kept getting away with it against, I believe it was Dallas. They had a -15% pass rate over expected. It's still been slightly negative, but mostly just balanced. And although, sure, they look a little run-heavy, I still want to fall back on a large body of work of, I think multiple offensive coordinators having Josh Allen and saying, like, he's really good. Let him throw the ball a lot. You know what teams do against New England? They throw the ball a lot. They're good against the run, and they're well below average against the pass in terms of EPA per play, and that is manifested in them facing the 6th highest pass rate over expected. Teams see their weakness, which is passing. They're really good against the run. They're second in EPA, and they do exactly what you'd expect. So I think this is probably a return to normal in that Josh Allen gets to throw a lot. Maybe they're not forced to play much in the 4th quarter because it is the Patriots, but for at least 3 quarters, I think Josh Allen shreds this team.
I think it should help too that he's had recent success to shredding the Pats. I mean, he had played 1 or 2 literally perfect games against the Patriots and has been able to throw all over Belichick, one of the very few. So we're hoping we get to return to normalcy. for that Bills passing. It's too late. I mean, some of you probably eliminate. He's been doing fine keeping the rushing.
Yeah. His rushing numbers have been
touchdowns.
elite. Yeah.
They have. So you hopefully are not eliminated. You know who's eliminated you though, Denny, is Dalton Kincaid. We talked about this early in the week. How Jover is it for Dalton besides extremely Jover? God,
it's just nothing has ever been more Jover than Dalton Kincaid. I mean, as long as Dawson Knox is in there and healthy, then he can't get there without a touchdown. Basically, like Dalton Kincaid is your typical like pray for a touchdown fantasy option. He's run 25 of a possible 43 pass routes over the past 2 weeks. He's seen 4 targets on those 25 routes, which is also not great. Dawson Knox has run 20 routes on those 43 dropbacks. He's seen 2 targets. So not saying that Dawson Knox is an option. He's not, but neither is Kincaid. I mean, you really you got to do better. You just got to do better. Like I know folks going to listen to this on Friday, but I would probably play Tyler Conklin maybe over Dalton Kincaid.
I believe I have the Conk Daddy ranked ahead of Dalton Kincaid, which did not feel good.
You do. I noticed. Yes.
Did not feel good, but it's just, I don't even know what to cling to. Even if they go back pass heavy, whether you can get 3-4 targets, it's just it's just not part of their game plan. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Kyle, I wrote LOL Pats, anyone to care about with the New England Patriots.
Wow, yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson on injured reserve. So I guess it's still Zeke season. What are we saying here?
Yeah, I mean, it's Zeke season, all touches, bunch of routes, probably not scoring because Pats probably aren't scoring. And Pop Douglas, we're deep enough. I mean, we're in the final round for most people that Pop Douglas is on the fringes of if you're playing him, you might be dead. But we do have a lot of players injured, and he has played a really strong role every time he's healthy over most of the second half of the season. He's got a 26% target share last week and 37% of the air yards. Whereas past 5 games, he's got, I think, 24% target share. He's he is by far the best pass catching option they have, and they're using him as such. It just comes with the caveat that they're the Patriots, they're not going to score points, and Bailey Zappi's throwing the ball. But PPR scam, yeah, that should close out the season with one more good scam.
He's been running a lot of scams. Popped up. Devontae Parker, by the way, is running a few scams. He's 4 for 50 every week. I'm just saying, just do with that.
Yes, yeah.
Do with that information what you will. The Falcons and Bears square off on the shores of Lake Michigan, with the Bears getting 3 points at home. Denny Carter. We will start where we always do. It must always be Bijan Robinson. This time is week 16 usage, and what it means going forward. I'm referencing a season high 7 catches on a season high 10 targets. Where are we at with Bijan?
Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, we're closing in on January. So we know from experience that Bijan
something's going to change, right?
He's not, no, right. Yeah, no, it's going to change now. Yeah, no, I mean, he's going to see, 40% of the rushing attempts.
Feels low.
50, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe depending on the week, depending on how surly Arthur Smith is at the moment. But he's going to miss out on a lot of the green zone rushes. Okay. But he's running a ton of routes. I think he's run more routes than any running back in the league, which makes you feel great, by the way. 10 targets last week from Heineke. That could be a trend that persists here. The Bears are kind of middle of the pack as far as giving up receptions to running backs, but he can stay alive for PPR purposes because of that usage.
Does Art, by the way, have his mustache right now? Do we know?
I don't know.
If he's clean shaven, it's clean shaven. It's a real good sign for Bijan. That's all I'm saying. But it's been different every week. He can grow a mustache extremely quickly. By the way,
folks, that's analytics.
Yeah, it's analytics. So let us know if you know the Art Smith mustache. Tweet at Rotopat or at CD Carter 13 or at Kyle Tweets here. We need to know about Art's mustache. We also need to know, Kyle, did anything change for this Falcons passing attack when they reinstalled Taylor Heineke for, I believe, the 6th time last week? They returned to Taylor Heineke for the 6th time in 2023 last week.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're throwing to Bijan so much that it's even hard to – he leads the team in targets over the past 5 weeks, so it's even marginally harder to trust players we already couldn't trust. Last week, they did have just a minus 1% pass rate over expected under Taylor Heineke. But as Denny said, it's January. I'm not going to take a small 1-game blip as any sort of Arthur Smith finally found the light and realized he can't, run the ball every play. No, that's probably just a blip. They're going to run the ball a lot. You know what you're getting or what you may not get with Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
Denny, what current status of the Bears backfield? Deontay Foreman did not play because of a personal issue last week. He's not even on the injury report this week, so he will be out there for week 17 against the Falcons. It seems like every week there's a new variable, and we can't really forecast this Bears backfield. Is there any possible way to forecast it for Sunday?
I tried so hard to forecast it last week with Roshan versus Khalil Herbert in a great matchup against the Cardinals. I mean, I was grinding all sorts of beat writer stuff, and I got it completely wrong. Someone asked me, after the game,
"Where's your God now?"
No, well, basically, this person said, "Why couldn't you just know it was Herbert?"
Look, that's a good question.
That's great. Like to know.
That's a great question. Here's the thing about that question. It didn't make me mad. I wasn't.
It didn't make you mad at all. No.
So the newspaper should know I was not mad. Look, first of all, I do want to mention, I mean, D'Onta Foreman, I think you have to assume, and you guys might push back on this, and if you do, then you're dead to me. But D'Onta Foreman is the lead back until proven otherwise.
Probably not. Probably not. I think he's kind of fallen out of their good graces a little bit. He's been having some consistency issues, having some injury issues. Now he's missed the game.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So they don't need to evaluate him. They might still feel like they need to evaluate Khalil and Roshan.
No, they don't need to evaluate those guys. But I do want to mention the Falcons, and this is going to be in the funnel defense report tomorrow on the site. The Falcons are the most extreme run funnel defense over the past month. And we saw what the Bears did last week against the Cardinals, ran for 240, 250 rushing yards total. They're going to do that again this week against the Falcons. Good luck guessing who's going to do it.
They might have no choice but to do that. Cole Kmet is not practicing. Darnell Mooney is not practicing. Both seems like they're going to be out, which leaves DJ Moore and like Equiminius St. Brown. Like, I don't even know who the Bears' number 2 weapon will be with those guys on the shelf. So going to be a lot of runs for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, it'll be run heavy.
Do you guys have a Bears pass catcher besides DJ Moore that you would even like utter the name of?
Oh, I mean, their next player up would be Tyler Scott, but like who cares?
No. Yeah.
What about the
like Bobby Tunyon?
Big Bob.
Tunyon. We're playing Tunyon.
Ooh, Tunyon trying to avenge the worst drop of the entire season,
which wasn't the worst drop in his own game. To be
no, it's true. Was not somehow the worst drop,
even though it was a dreadful drop.
Yeah, it was one of the worst drops I have ever seen. But moving on from the Chicago Bears, fresh off demolishing the 49ers on the road, the Ravens return home as 3-point favorites against the similarly lauded Dolphins. Kyle, it has been a real long time since Tua Tagovailoa had a spiked week, and I assume there will not be one coming here against the Ravens, even though the total is at 47.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brutal spot for quarterbacks. Playing the Ravens has been a tough spot all year. They're second in EPA per dropback allowed, also second in straight-up fantasy points allowed. And Miami doesn't have a great team total. Vegas doesn't have a ton of faith in them. They have a team total lower than the Bucs, Jags, and Packers. Not those are bad teams, but they're certainly not this is the offense we expect to drop 30 type of teams. And Dolphins are lower than that. You know, you talked about the Ravens beating up, or the Ravens. You talked about the Dolphins beating up their opponents too bad and taking fourth quarters off. We need that. That's how they get there. This team has thrived on routing the Broncos, routing the Commanders. Like, we want the other team to do nothing for the entire game and the Dolphins to get to run a bunch of plays. This isn't that type of game. So where did you rank Tua? I don't even know if I had him as a QB1. If I didn't, it was like 13, but
I put him right at QB 12, I believe. It's either QB 11 or 12 because at the end of the day, it's still Mike McDaniel and it's still Tyreek Hill. Tyreek himself almost installs, like, even against the Ravens, I like Tyreek as a tiebreaker over people like Baker Mayfield and Joe Flacco, Derek Carr, which is kind of the company's running. People are trying to steam Kyler Murray against the Eagles, which fairly well. Best of luck there.
I had him as 11, by the way, so I actually did sneak up just inside.
Kyle Hamilton is probably not playing, by the way, right, for the Ravens. How much does this matter, ball knowers of the universe?
It matters. It matters. I mean, yeah, he's destroyed teams in the secondary.
Yes, he's been making big plays. It's really a shame he made one bad play early in his career, and everyone thought he was bad. Yeah.
What was the bad play? I don't remember that.
It is indeed amazing. He got torched. I think he got like the classic he got like corkscrewed.
Yeah, I remember this now. I remember this. I saw someone tweet, this is a while ago, someone tweet like, this guy is what we all wanted Derwin James to be. And that's like a pretty good, because Derwin James was like supposed to be extremely fun, just can't stay healthy. Hamilton does all that, like plays 40 different positions well kind of stuff.
Hamilton is reading all that. Sorry.
Derwin James should just try to tackle with his head up one time.
Yeah.
That would be my advice.
Injuries does lead. to injuries. Denny, speaking of injuries, we have the Dolphins backfield. Raheem Mostert is banged up. He's going to play. Devin Achane has been banged up for several weeks. He is going to play.
Yeah.
Just what is the breakdown for this Dolphins backfield? In a game where Jalen Waddle is probably not going to play with his ankle injury, what does this mean for Devin Achane?
Well, we have ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting that Jalen Waddle is not going to play in Week 17 against Baltimore. The high ankle sprain was not nearly as low as the Dolphins had hoped. So we're hoping he can come back in Week 18. But I think that probably opens up some targets for Devon Achane, who has a slim lead and routes and that he definitely has that 2-minute role. He is struggling with a toe injury. I don't know how much that is affecting him. He missed practice on Wednesday. He returned to practice on Thursday. But it does seem, as long as Raheem Mostert is in the lineup, it seems like Achane is capped, right? At like 10 to 12 touches. Like he's just not probably going to get to that 15 touch area. And unless things go really sideways for Miami and they have to like dump it off a bunch to him in this game. Teams have gone pass heavy against Baltimore over the past month. For example, the 49ers had a 76% neutral pass rate against Baltimore last week. So we're hoping for Achane's sake that comes to fruition because it could lead to a lot of checkdowns.
By the way, Kyle, it's your sense that Raheem Mostert's going to play, right?
100%. He DNP'd on Wednesday, but he also DNP'd last Wednesday and last Thursday, and I think got full and then cleared entirely. So I don't even know if he practiced today. It almost certainly doesn't matter.
Okay, good. Kyle, Odell Beckham was percolating. It seemed like he was going to become a fantasy, quote, problem, and now it has been a problem. He's not producing at all. It seems like he's been hurt a lot. And going back to like injury-prone Odell, he has been playing. He's just really, really banged up. Is he no longer startable behind Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers? Even as this Ravens offense performs really well, it just isn't happening for Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you hang your hat on, is that we've seen him on a per route basis be a really strong receiver. Now, as Denny and I pointed out, he was running far less than a full complement of routes as of a few weeks ago. He was still getting there because he was getting a bunch of targets per route. And while he's good and they're trying to maximize his reps, there's only so much you can do on 50 to 60% of the routes. And that sort of regression has been hitting over the past 2 weeks. But you can't hang your hat on this is a really good team. High team total, solid passing attack. And as far as the totals this year have been relatively low, it's a pretty solid total. He's basically the Brandon Cooks play of this team where I don't know what his target share is going to be. You're probably kind of disappointed with it, but it takes one big play. And we know he's capable of doing that.
We do. You love anytime you can be the Brandon Cooks of your team, you have to do it. You absolutely have to do it. I'm going to keep talking. I was wondering if this promo I need to read is ready. We'll do one more game. Then we're going to do the promo. The Colts and Raiders meet up with the Colts somehow still alive in the AFC South race, Denny. The fighting Antonio Pierce's just stymied Patrick Mahomes and ruined Kyle Dvorchak's life on Christmas Day. Is this a concerning matchup for the Colts' passing game? Michael Pittman, it does appear, is going to play.
Yeah, this is just a horrific matchup for the Colts. And by the way, the Raiders profile has a really good streaming defense. They're on a lot of waiver wires. Not in your league, I know. But in other I've
been on the Raiders defense since their dynasty in the 70s and 80s, Denny. I don't know why. I can't believe you dropped them. You lost faith when John Madden retired. I
did. So that's on me. But they're available in a lot. And Gardner Minshew is among top 4 in turnover worthy plays since he started, since he took over the starting role in Indianapolis. So we're going to see some turnovers, folks. That's what I'm saying. Since Antonio Pierce took over, the Vegas defense has allowed the lowest drop back EPA by far. Teams have tried to turn to the run versus the Raiders. The KC, for instance, had a 52% neutral pass rate against them last week, but that's mostly, I think, to try to avoid that secondary, which is very scary at the moment. You're playing Pittman, but it is a rough one for Pittman and Downs and everybody.
Yeah, Downs is it Jover? Is it Dalton Kincaid for Downs?
Seems like
for a while.
Downs, his usage is good, but wow, his production is not getting there ever.
Speaking of usage and production problems, Kyle, Jonathan Taylor, that was a harrowing week 16. He at least got the tutter. It was 18 carries for 43. What's going on with him? He didn't pass the eye test very well last week either, did he? Or am I wrong?
I
thought he did.
I care that he saw all of the carries. He saw 82% of the carries, and I imagine 1 or 2 of the non-82% for Gardner Minshew. That's what I care about. Like, I still, one game isn't going to shake me on my belief that he's a talented player.
Well, did he look healthy? I thought there were murmurs he wasn't like looking terribly healthy last weekend. I did not see a second of this game. So am I just wrong, hopefully, because I'm playing him this week.
I don't know. You signed me a terrible Christmas game. I got Cole.
You did get Cole. It was supposed to be Patrick Mahomes. Come on, man.
Versus Aiden O'Connell. How could that not pan
Aiden O'Connell, how many points did he score the week before? You want to tell me that? Want to go ahead and tell me that?
He scored a lot of points. You're right.
60. Tell me that. Yeah, 63. Say it out loud. 63.
63.
It was a good game. No, did he complete a pass after the first quarter?
I don't think
so. I don't think so. I don't think so. He was ended up 6 or 9 of 21, something like that, 63 yards. All the touchdowns came from the defense. It was a terrible time, and my family doesn't want me to come next Christmas.
NBC apologizes for that, but John Taylor, faith not shaken, I take it.
Yeah, I think he's good, and he saw all the carries.
But he's splitting routes with somebody named Goodson.
Tyler Goodson, yeah.
I mean, that stinks.
That's bad. Denny, the Raiders backfield, do we even know enough to prognosticate? Josh Jacobs supposedly almost played Christmas Day. Now he's still not practicing. Yeah. Zamir White had the best game by any Raiders running back all year.
Whoever gets the nod as the lead back is in a really good spot. Only the Jets are a more extreme run funnel than the Colts. Everybody establishes. I mean, Tyler Algier got there against the Colts last week. So, like, Zamir White is a smash play if he plays, as is Josh Jacobs.
My vibe is that Jacobs went out and practiced last week and things were tight and he couldn't go because he was DNP they played Monday, so I think it's technically Thursday, but DNP the first practice of the week, limited practice, and then immediate DNP again. Like, that vibes of maybe not re-injury, but at least saying like maybe we're pushing things back too soon, and then immediately comes back to another DNP the following week after obviously not playing. And they don't have to rush him back. And that Zamir White looked really freaking good last week. Jacobs is probably a better running back, but do you want to rush him back? I'm sure he doesn't want to rush back because I believe he's an impending free agent.
He is. Keep it locked to Rotoworld.com to see if Josh Jacobs plays this week. Keep it locked to this podcast. We will be right back after this. Find another way to celebrate the holiday season by being a part of the Premier League festive fixtures. We are in the midst of 29 matches over 13 days on NBC, USA Network, and Peacock. So wrap up 2023 by checking out all the thrilling moments across the pond, from creative set pieces to scorching shots and amazing saves. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Kyle asked Denny the other day if he could name a Premier League team, and he did not incorrectly point out that London is always in the mix in the Premier League. And
oh, come on. I watch every now and then. You've got City, United, Villa, Tottenham Hotspurs. Are Wolverhampton in that league still?
They are. But London, you got Arsenal, you got Chelsea, you got West Ham, the Hammers, several good teams in London.
You got the Teapots.
Yeah.
Teapots. No one talks about them.
You do have the Teapots. You have the Towers of London. They're currently 17th on the table.
Right. The Bridges of London. You've got the London Bridges, of course.
Yeah.
The Werewolves.
The Werewolves of London.
Wolverhampton.
The Werewolves of London are currently winning the championship. Right. They could get promoted next year.
I mean, yes, I do watch, is what I'm saying.
You do. I do legitimately watch, and I've been loving the festive fixtures. I would recommend checking them out if you have not already done so. The Rams venture to New Jersey to take on the Giants as 6-point favorites, Kyle. Matthew Stafford has somehow turned into a legitimate QB1 over the past 5 to 6 weeks. Does he keep it rolling here? Against the Giants team is making another quarterback change.
I mean, yeah, probably. He's been stone cold elite, not just good, but among the best, if not straight up the best quarterbacks over the past 5 or 6 weeks. Since week 12, he ranks first in EPA per play, fourth in CPOE. He has a strong PFF passing grade as well. It certainly helps that for the first time since like a very narrow stretch of games, probably starting around week 5 or 6, he probably has the best wide receiver duo that is healthy for this week in the NFL. Because like Justin Jefferson is not a healthy duo with Addison banged up. Obviously, Waddle not playing. Chase maybe not playing.
Debo has a neck injury, but probably Debo still. Well,
man, I don't see exactly. We're talking about that. This might be the best wide receiver duo in the NFL, especially if you kind of hang some of the injury guys up for this week, and one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. Yeah, like that checks out. That Stafford, who still has all the physical tools, is able to get it done when this group gets firing on all cylinders.
Boy, yeah, it's been nuts. I kept waiting for the shoe to drop. Then when he wrecked the Ravens, I was like, wow, all right.
Well, it was a week after he wrecked the Browns.
Yes. Matthew Stafford.
As far as I know, he has the best game by EPA per play against both the best and second best defense in the NFL.
Matthew Stafford asked if we, quote, missed him yet.
Yeah, yes, he did.
We did.
He also obviously started having breakfast with Puka Nacua
That's
instead
true.
of just Cooper Kupp, and discovered that he has a better receiver on the team.
Yeah. Wow. Demarcus Robinson could be the best of all. He's been getting pancakes every single morning with Matthew Stafford, Denny Carter. I mentioned the Giants changing quarterbacks yet again. Shockingly, the meme quarterback could not keep it going at Tommy DeVito. It's now back to Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's main bugaboo, he's getting to the point like when anytime he plays the game, he will be injured in the game. But we're really hoping that does not happen this Sunday against the Rams. What is the state of the Giants offense with Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah, so I mean, it would seem to be Darren Waller's season. 25% target share with Tyrod under center this season. Wan'Dale Robinson is second with 17%, and then Slayton is third with 13%. Now Slayton, we saw him catch that 70-some yard touchdown in week 16. He is the downfield guy with Tyrod under center, and Tyrod throws it deep way more than Tommy DeVito does. So I think that Slayton is like a desperation kind of play, multiple flex type of league situation. But yeah, I mean, Waller is, not unexciting, I don't think, with Taylor under center.
Tommy DeVito's agent wearing a funny suit really kind of obscured for a while that Tommy DeVito is one of the worst players to step on an NFL field in quite a while.
Yeah, the suit was colorful though.
It was very colorful, and his touchdown to interception ratio is somehow 8-3. But this man took 36 sacks. He played like 4 games.
His EPA was not good.
He played like 8 games actually, but he took a lot of sacks in all of them. So there's no Puka Nacua. I don't even know why. Enough targets for both Kupp and Nacua at this point, right? It seems like they're both healthy.
I think 9, 164 and 1 last week.
He did.
We're all right.
He's been getting out targeted by Cooper Kupp for like 3 or 4 games in a row now, but it's not really a problem. They have found the receiver core is big enough for the 2 of them. We have discovered.
But I will say that like if things go sideways here and like the Rams get a big lead, they're not going to pass it much. Since week 14, they are 2% under their expected drop back rate. They're okay with us like establishing it and milking the clock. I think that's what you could see here.
And Kyron Williams is the clear cut RB2 overall behind Mr. Christian McCaffrey. Yep. The Kansas City Chiefs come off the Christmas stink bomb heard round the Dvorchak world as touchdown home favorites against the Bengals. Denny, I should have given this one to Kyle. Is it time to stop waiting for any sort of turnaround in Kansas City? Is this just kind of a broken offense despite having the best football player on planet Earth?
Is that for me?
Denny Carter, that is indeed for you.
Okay, it was incorrectly given to you, even though I had to labor through this game, and I don't even get to talk about it.
Well,
he doesn't get to talk about
just real quick, I did see that the Chiefs are, quote, trying to fall in love with the mundane as a way to cure their offensive woes.
Sounds like someone read a book once.
And
you read that one motivational.
I mean, look, it's a very nice way of saying,
that's an airport self-help book, trying to fall in love with the Monday.
Yes. Oh man, it really is. I'd probably read that. But yeah, I mean, it's another way of saying we would like Mahomes to drop back once and throw on time to a receiver and gain 9 yards. And that's it. Like just give us that, they can't do that right now. They just can't do that. It has to be, we talk about,
he still does it. They don't do it. Monday, he didn't do it for the first time. He just seems broken finally, like mentally broken. Because I feel like he was doing that and they just kept dropping the ball.
There have been a lot of drops. I mean, Kelsey dropped a couple this past week. I don't know. I do think that we're going to see like a dumbed down Kansas City offense going forward. Oh, yeah. We're not, you remember all the fun trickeration we saw in the red zone or the green zone, particularly with Andy Reid, where they would do ring around the rosy. Remember that?
Yeah,
we're not seeing any of that going.
No, we're not.
Like that's done. They're tired of being fancy. They can't afford to be fancy anymore. That makes me unexcited about pretty much everyone in this offense.
I'm going to stick with you, Denny, and ask about this backfield in a second. But just real quick, you are the expert on things being Jover. Travis Kelce, I don't know. Is it
the Jover meter is alarmingly high right now. I mean, look, he's older. Like eventually it was going to happen. I know every year any fantasy analyst who dares to say Travis Kelce has aged by 1 year is shamed to no end.
They are.
To no end. And Hayden Winks was right about Travis Kelce.
The fourth time he was right.
He is super washed. So I people are saying, I know that sounds like a joke. People are saying, but I have actually gotten questions. Do I start so-and-so over Kelce? And so you have a situation. Do I start Isaiah Likely over Kelce? And I think that's a real question.
It's not. You don't do that.
It's a real question.
Where do you think Travis Kelce ranks in yards per out run? Take a guess.
Sorry, Denny. I wasn't trying to set you up to get
No. I don't know. Third,
second.
Hey, wow! Exactly, literally exactly third. I agree. He's absolutely lost a step.
He's fallen off.
He's Travis Kelce. A step for Travis Kelce means he's probably still the second best tight end in NFL history, or the third, or the fifth. I don't care. So yeah, I do think he's probably not the elite target earner he was last year and in previous years. Rashee Rice taking a massive chunk of the targets has kind of made that very clear. I'm still going to have him ranked as the tight end 1 overall every single week.
Me too.
But I mean, he's not as good as he was last year, probably. I think that's probably to a degree true. But like Isaiah Likely, come on, man. I mean, like if you want to throw in like George Kittle in a better matchup, because this matchup, they're just going to run all over the Commanders. I could see that. Even like a Trey McBride, maybe. But that's about it. I'm going to say there's 2 tight ends that I won't laugh you out of the room. If you ask, should you start over Kelce? I get it. That's 2 though. And even then I'm starting Kelce.
When I said Hayden in the fourth time, I assumed Hayden had said he was too old 4 years in a row, and that the fourth time was the charm.
It may have been, but Hayden, I was with you the whole time.
Hey, I dabbled in that for 1 or 2 years. Remember the one year Kelce's
he played fewer preseason snaps and people lost their mind.
His yards per out run declined fairly sizably, and then they went back up the next year.
The machine started going burr again.
They did start going, but I think we all know the real reason Travis Kelce is not playing well. He's the first player in the history of the NFL to have a girlfriend.
Yes,
man.
We just heard that before the show. That was confirmed by NBC Sports that no other NFL player has ever had a girlfriend or a wife,
and it's not working out. Denny, the Chiefs, their backfield, Isaiah Pacheco does not seem like he's going to play. Jerick McKinnon's on injured reserve. CEH season ?
Yeah, it is. He's the guy you need. It's against Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is a pretty soft matchup for opposing running backs. They're allowing the 5th highest rushing success rate since week 10. And folks, I'm going to get this stat in because I do it every week on the show. The Bengals are allowing the 2nd highest rush yards before contact per attempt since week 10. That correlates closely with big rushes. So, I mean, if you have CEH, you have to really, really consider how to get him into the lineup if Pacheco is out, because he's going to see a ton of work.
You really, really do. You can't really leave him on your bench. It's not looking good for Isaiah Pacheco's Monday and is the concussion protocol.
What's with the Pacheco not having his helmet on ever?
No, it just got ripped off from him in the middle of a play. I saw it. It was just super unfortunate. He got short 2-yard pass, caught up in a scrum and tossed to the ground.
I see.
And just the worst coincidence of a big Chiefs lineman. They're all big, but big NFL lineman moving you don't have to be moving that fast for a 300-pound dude, and just knee or maybe shins Pacheco right to the back of the head. Just really poor luck on that play, unfortunately. And you're yep, the concussion guy saw that and was this is what I get paid for. Bring him on out of here. So of note, keep it, as Pat would say, locked to rotoworld.com. Clyde Edwards-Helaire mispracticed with an illness. This guy, freaking guy.
Come on.
Most players play through illnesses. Let's not freak out. But
there is some stuff going around the state of Missouri. I can attest. I somehow have not caught it. Knock on wood. I am going to literally knock on wood. I'm far healthier than I was last winter. I will say that. Kyle, is Jake Brown
even 6 times this year? Even sick.
I've only been sick once, but it was 3 weeks that I was sick. Kyle, has Jake Browning stopped getting away with it? And can he start getting away with it again with Jamar Chase seemingly coming back from his shoulder injury this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue he still got away with it last week because he played an absolute garbage game and threw for 300-some yards, including an 80-yard touchdown to T. Higgins, which was a well-thrown ball, but Higgins streaking wide open for 40 yards of yak or something. So in terms of expectation of that game versus what he produced, he's probably also got away with it again in that sense. I mean, I still think he's a solid backup to fringe starter, not a, franchise starter, but a fringe 32 level quarterback. So yeah, he probably can get away with it. I do think it'll help tremendously if Jamar Chase plays. But we had, I believe it was Ian Rappaport, apologies if it was Schefter, say they didn't think he was going to play in week 17, which was kind of the reporting from a week ago as well, that 16 was a no-go, 17 we'll see. Now we're kind of getting that again. I believe it was Rappaport saying 17 looks unlikely, 18 is a maybe. So I don't know if he actually plays this week.
I will see. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, he said that he said he has Chase has a lot more range of motion with his shoulder, but it's about pain tolerance and it's still quite painful, he said.
Interesting. Yeah, right. Well, that is a genuinely uncertain situation. The Eagles still did not really get right in week 16 against the Giants, Kyle, but they did win. Are we expecting the same playing scared approach against the Cardinals? Denny's been talking about this with the Bills and the Eagles. They're just playing like not to lose right now, and continually almost losing. They're 11-point favorites against Arizona. What are we expecting from the Eagles on Sunday? Question mark, Kyle.
Hard to say. This game is. It'll be in the next 14 days at least, or most. Anyway, so you'll see it on your TV eventually. Yeah, I figure it's Sunday. I mean, I'll give him a little bit of credit for the last week, saying you played Tommy DeVito. He threw for like 60 yards and got benched at halftime. I get why you ran the football a lot. I also would be like, let's get out of here, guys. It's Tommy DeVito. It's Tyrod Taylor. It was Tommy DeVito. Let's get out of here. And with the way Kyler's playing, and Vegas kind of agrees, they're 10.5-point favorites. This does set up to be a bit of another, what's our opponent doing? They're not going to beat us. Let's get on out of here type of game. The Cardinals, you can beat them however you want. They have allowed the worst EPA per dropback in the NFL. Not to be outdone by their rush EPA, which is 31st, which is basically the same thing. I think this is probably, it's a high total, but it's mostly carried by the Eagles. I do think they end up running the ball a ton in the second half, even if they do get away with a pretty explosive passing game in the first half. Like, do we see? I think the odds are probably more likely that we don't see a full 4 quarters of Jalen Hurts, at least passing. Let's say he doesn't throw in the final drive, even if he's taking the snaps, right? This is such a big spread. And the Cardinals are terrible.
The Eagles aren't getting a bye either, and they probably really need to find spots to rest Jalen Hurts' knee. Denny, if they do pass or when they do pass, how are targets shaking out behind A.J. Brown right now with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert? Dallas Goedert, I think, has 9 targets each the past 2 weeks. So he's commanded a pretty large share of the target pie.
Yeah, so over the past 3 weeks, that's the time Dallas Goedert has been back from his arm injury. 33% target share for A.J. Brown, 21.6 for Goddard, and 20.6 for Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert, for what it's worth, has the second most first read targets behind A.J. Brown. So Devontae Smith seeing a lot of, not a lot, a good amount of air yards, pretty high ADOT over the past 3 games. But he has a very different fantasy profile when Dallas Goedert is in the game versus when he's out, and kind of have to accept that. I think he's more of like a low end wide receiver too, especially I think the Eagles could get like crazy run heavy in this game. I'm going to write about it in the Funnel Defense Report, be on NBC Sports tomorrow. There's no reason to think that the Eagles won't want to establish it here, especially with their fans just obsessed with running the ball for some reason.
And their coach.
Very frustrating, annoying. But so I think that volume could be limited. That'll hurt everybody not named A.J. Brown.
Kyle, earlier I mentioned the concept of Kyler Murray as a stream this week. It just has not been getting home in fantasy. The running has ticked up a little bit the past 2 weeks again after hitting a low ebb, but there's no passing production on this team. Marquise Brown is not practicing, almost certainly not playing. Yeah. Can we stream Kyler against the one of the most extreme pass funnels in the entire NFL, Philadelphia?
You can. Like you said, the rushing has ticked up a little bit. We're still not seeing a ton of designed runs for him. Like you said, he just hasn't been Kyler Murray since coming back. He's peaked at 251 passing yards in a game this year. And to his credit, he's coming off a torn ACL. His weapons are far from ideal. They've been banged up. He's learning a new system. But, whatever impact that is on his ability to play, I don't know. But there's clearly something going on because he has been pretty dreadful. He ranks 24th in EPA per play, 30th in CPOE. He has an extremely poor PFF passing grade, and we're not getting to bank on 60 yards and a potential touchdown in every game. Maybe there's some rushing, but it's not going to be a ton of design runs. Yeah, as good as the matchup is, I wouldn't really be dying to stream him. He's not a QB1, and I don't really consider him as a QB1 even closely this week.
If you think the Cardinals are going to pass a lot, I think Michael Wilson becomes somewhat interesting in deep formats. He led the team in routes last week, 4 targets, 0 catches.
Hey, how many balls did he catch?
Lots of air.
Yeah, I was going to say, who do you think led the team in receiving yards? I'll try and get these correct.
Well, I actually have it here. Let's see. You have 45 for Greg Dortch.
Wow.
I think James Conner had more. I think
James Conner 67. Yes.
Yep, there you go.
Correct. Well, who do you think led the team in catches? It couldn't be another running back, could it? There's no way.
It was Amari DiMercado.
Correct. That's not how a functioning passing game works. Like I said, Kyler, it's a tough spot when your best receivers are a running back and his backup. But for fantasy, I can't give him any credit. Don't play him.
12,
I do not anywhere near the top 12. Sorry, Denny.
12 receptions for Arizona running backs last week. That's
fun. Very fun.
After they hadn't been catching anything, they had refused to throw to James Conner for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it was really cutting the legs out from underneath his fantasy value, and now it's back. And his team they're flailing. Everyone talking about Justin Fields. I guess they can't really move on from Kyle. I think he's a 35 million guarantee.
Yeah. But anyway, I just want McBride's going to eat and watch out for Michael Wilson. You better watch out.
You better watch out. You will cry.
You will actually cry.
Catch another pass. The surging Tampa Bay Buccaneers host the New Orleans Saints as roughly field goal home favorites. Denny, Mike Evans has remained a big part of that. I've said, should we be worried about this match? And then I remembered that Marshawn Lattimore's injured and he's not going to fight him. He's not going to get ejected. So is it all systems go for Mike Evans against the Saints?
Yeah. I mean, the Bucs are trying to win the division this week. I think that Evans, Godwin, you fire up everybody. I think the Bucs will try to pour it on. I will say that teams are getting by on the ground against New Orleans, and they are really leaning toward the run. I don't know if it means a ton, but I will say Rachaad White is in a quietly amazing spot. Of course, you're starting him, redraft, whatever. But for DFS, if you're looking at maybe how to get some leverage against this passing attack, you go with Rachaad White. You get a little Rachaad White curious. It'll be fun. And so yeah, just know that. But yeah, Mike Evans without Marshawn Lattimore could be incredible.
Yeah, the Saints used to have one of the most formidable run defenses in the entire league, 3 or 4 years ago. It has totally collapsed this year.
Yeah, over the past 2 months, it's been real bad.
Yeah, on the other side, Kyle, do we expect Derek Carr to keep feeding Chris Olave? This was a very, very welcome Week 16 development where he just targeted his actual best receiver a lot. He didn't even look 100% healthy, Chris Olave. He was catching and falling a lot. But he had a really big game. He's had the mini bye. Are we expecting this to continue for the fantasy finals?
Yeah, I mean, right now he's 16th in the NFL in target share. He's 8th in air yard share. He's had an air yard share over 30%, I believe, in every single game this year, which means round about a third of the team's attempted yards past the line of scrimmage in every single game, like clockwork, that he's played. I think he missed one game, have gone to Chris Olave. He's clearly the team's first and only option that they try and go to move the sticks. After that, it's whoever's open, right? He's first read so often in terms of, do we care to get a first down? Let's go to Olave. And it's going to be volatile at times when so much of his expected points come on deep outside throws. But that's perfect this week. What we need is ceiling. You're probably going to play a really good team in the fantasy championship. We want players with ceiling, and Olave has that.
It's been a little bit of a sleepier stretch for Alvin Kamara. He's been out of the end zone in back-to-back games. He was over 100 yards from scrimmage 2 weeks ago. Only 35 yards from scrimmage against the Rams last week, though. Anything concerning with him? And very concerning. Why is Taysom Hill just phased out of the offense? I don't really understand that one.
Yeah, so actually I did some digging and found this on Taysom. I'll get to Kamara in a second. This is via neworleans.football, which is a really good site that covers the Saints. So Taysom has 3 rushes and 1 catch over the past 2 weeks. Very limited snaps in both those games. Here's what Dennis Allen, head coach of the Saints, said about that. Quote, "We didn't get into a lot of passing situations, so that was probably more a product of how the game was being played," said Allen, who seemed even more disappointed in Taysom Hill's lack of involvement on offense since he finished with just 2 carries for 2 yards and 0 targets on just 10 snaps played. Hill's diminished role in Week 15 against the Giants was more health-related, while he was dealing with both hand and foot injuries, but that wasn't the same issue against the Rams. Quote, "We just didn't get him as involved." Allen said, and basically went on to say we're not in a position to establish it with Taysom. I am not counting Taysom out. The fact that Dennis Allen is saying we're disappointed in his usage, I think that it would be exactly what we're expected to do, is to write him off, and I'm not writing him off. I think
are road dogs against
a
defense that's a lot better on the ground.
I know. And it seems like, the Saints have been pass heavier. They've had a 63% neutral pass rate over the past 2 weeks. That's up from 58% on the season. So they seem okay with passing it a little more. But I'm just saying, I feel like if you're just dying for like a viable tight end, you could still throw Taysom in there, I think.
He's still got way more upside than anyone else in that range of the board, for sure. Like the tight end 14 to 20 range. He has a 0.0 downside, but he does have way more upside than most of his compatriots in that part of the board. Trying to survive in the NFC's brutal playoff race, the Seahawks are 3.5-point home favorites against the Steelers, Kyle. Pittsburgh is where we will begin. What can we take away from Mason Rudolph's first 2023 start under center, where George Pickens went nuts, but still only drew 6 targets? What is real? What is fake from Rudolph 1.0?
I mean, I do think it's interesting. I don't know if it's translatable to games going forward, that Mason Rudolph this year, which is to say one game and maybe appeared in one other one, has a higher rate of throws intermediate part of the field and deep part of the field significantly than both of the other quarterbacks. Now, it doesn't help, or it doesn't make the data very clear or translatable going forward, that all those throws mostly came against the Bengals, who are 30th in explosive pass rate allowed. Steelers saw a very weak Bengals defense in terms of giving up big plays and targeted their one player who does that really well. Do they do that this week? The Seahawks don't have an elite pass defense, but they're right about league average in terms of the explosive plays they've allowed. We're certainly not getting what we got last week with Pickens, but I think even then, the volume, which wasn't elite, probably should come back to a degree. Although it wouldn't surprise me, Mason Rudolph is a little more explosive as a thrower, or at least attempting to be more explosive as a thrower. But I still wouldn't love to be starting George Pickens.
No, I think you laid it out perfectly there. Didn't the other receiver core, anything changing with the Seahawks target tree where I feel like I can't get a grip on Tyler Lockett and JSN behind DK. DK Metcalf's having big games, but keeps only getting 6 targets. I feel like the strange resource allocation in this receiver core.
It is. Lockett's usage was different last week. He ran a route from the slot on 38% of his routes against Tennessee. That's way up from his usual slot usage. And then JSN was bumped out wide. And then, like, we know that Tyler Lockett does really well from the slot and has been really fun for fantasy when he's been used from the slot. So if that continues, I wrote about it in the regression files if folks want to check it out. I could see it being a really nice end to the season for Tyler Lockett, who was seeing more layups last week, 8, 10, 12-yard passes from Geno Smith that he converted instead of a bunch of downfield stuff, high variance stuff. So I like Lockett this week. I think the Seahawks are probably going to lean on the pass here.
Ken Walker has outtouched Zach Charbonnet 39-7 over the past 2 weeks. So Charbs is gone. It's status quo really between Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, right? Same old. Nothing worth mentioning there. Smarting from their first loss and forever. The 49ers arrive in Washington, D.C. as nearly 2 touchdown favorites, 12.5 points to be exact, Denny. The big story here is Jacoby Brissett's insertion under center for the Commanders. You have been noting how that sent the game total soaring. Does this make Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson relevant again? Or is this a backup quarterback like going nuts in the fourth quarter with his team down like 4 scores the past few weeks? They did almost come back against the Rams, actually.
It could be a little of that, but the everybody passes against the 49ers. So I think you combine the Commanders' pass heaviness with the fact that they're facing the Niners. I think you're going to get a ton of volume here, probably a ton of play volume in this game, actually. And in his limited action, Jacoby Brissett this season has targeted Terry McLaurin on 23% of his throws. It's 18% for both Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson, respectively. And then after that, it's Logan Thomas with 15%. I think that Terry McLaurin, with the insertion of Brissett into the lineup, I think McLaurin really does look like the kind of guy who, you could look back on and say, this guy won me the fantasy championship.
Well, he can't do that because he's already eliminated you.
You're correct. That is correct.
He is running roughshod over the consolation bracket.
What are you talking about? No,
he's running roughshod. Well, you're not even in the consolation championship game. But
you might be, because hasn't McLaurin gotten there for like a few long plays in the past 2 weeks? So like you could be storming to 6th place. Like you could really be up.
You got 9th on lockdown, I think.
All right. Well, if you somehow survive Terry McLaurin being a wide receiver 3 for most of the season, then you're in a great spot. Let's put it this way: I don't want to look across in my matchup and see Terry McLaurin in the other lineup. That's all I'm saying.
Also, to be fair, I said he got home for some long plays in the past few weeks. It was like 1 week. He had the 141-yard game. Before that, he got complete zero ball. Before that, he got 50, 43. So yeah, you definitely lost that first round of the consolation bracket. And then you avoided last place. Very good. We're happy for you. And now you're fighting for 9th. I think you're right about that.
I think it is 9th. It's the 9th, 10th place game. And he's going to be very highly critical in this ball game.
Brissett. Okay. All right. Listen.
We've beaten Denny down too bad.
Yeah, he's
all right. Whatever you want to say about McLaurin. I just hope to God that you're playing against McLaurin somewhere this week. And Jacoby Brissett is interesting. He is an interesting play. I mean, especially like super flex. Like you really, really need not to dismiss Jacoby Brissett because he is going to drop back so much against San Francisco.
And probably take 1 billion sacks is just my guess.
Whatever.
There will be yards. Kyle, what is going on in this Washington backfield? I asked before Chris Rodriguez landed on injured reserve. Brian Robinson's trying to play. He's gotten in some limited practices. They don't like Antonio Gibson. Any juice to squeeze here whatsoever?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Brian Robinson trying to play. But the thing is, if he does play, are you starting him against the pass funnel 49ers who are also elite against the run? And are going to, because they're also good against the pass, and that's just how teams are forced to attack them, are probably not giving up points. Even if they don't end up going to the pass funnel, doesn't mean their running game is going to be successful. And Brian Robinson, maybe not even healthy, probably not. In fact, no, of course you're not playing Brian Robinson. Like that is a classic congrats on 12th place finish type of scenario. I mean, if he doesn't play, I honestly probably still don't want to trust Antonio Gibson. Jonathan Williams is getting 11 carries. You know it.
Anyone have any 49ers thoughts? I mean, we know they had the fiasco game, but this seems like situation normal. Deebo Samuel is battling a neck issue, but I feel I have a hard time expecting anything is going to change for how they play ball heading into a game against one of the absolute worst pass defenses in recent memory.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably going to want to get right here. Many would call this a get right spot. Look, I'm just going to put this out here, folks, okay? Just real quick.
Oh, no. You're taking the Commanders' money line.
That's right. That's right. And
are you serious?
Look at the 49ers are traveling. It's in Washington. Am I wrong on that?
It is.
Okay. Okay. So it's a 1:00 start. Is that right?
That's very bad.
The 49ers are going to be sleepy. Okay.
It's New Year's Eve. They're going to be looking ahead to the clubs.
Brissett is in, folks. Folks, we are going to be talking about the Commanders beating the 49ers on Monday.
Wow. I said that as a bit. I wasn't trying to set you
Not
up.
a bit.
Not a bit. We'll see how much of a bit it is on Monday when we talk about it. So actually, just a real quick programming note. Kyle Dvorchak and I will be doing a slimmed down version of our typical recap show on Sunday evening. Check that out on New Year's Day if you're trying to recover from a little partying. Some people on the show might be recovering. Denny Carter has declined to participate.
Well,
real good team player.
You said I couldn't have 2.5 hard seltzers.
No, I didn't. I did. So you have very graciously bowed out. Kyle and I will giving you the takeaways from week 17, whatever week it is. The spiraling Jacksonville Jaguars are still getting almost a touchdown at home against the Panthers, Kyle. But let's be real. This is not a get-right matchup for the Jags' passing attack. Is that the Panthers play really good pass defense despite being the worst team in the league.
It's not even like this shutdown secondary by any means. They're like dead average in EPA per dropback. It's that no team until last week has ever seen their offense and said, we need to complete more than 5 passes to win. Yeah. Every team looks at them and says, if we get, I don't know how you get a point on the board I don't think you can get 1-0 points. You can get 1 points in other fashions. I think there's some weird rules around that. I don't know how you'd get 1 point on the board, but if the ref accidentally gave you one, you'd say, let's shut it down. It's all game's already over. Last week was different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they have a decent pass defense that's average, and teams don't pass against them. That's a recipe for disaster. The only good news is they don't have a pass rush. They're last in pressure rate. They're below average in PFF pass rush grade as a team. If we get Trevor Lawrence, which is not a given by any means, I do think he's sitting back in the pocket, and he's probably trying to bomb a few to Calvin Ridley before they likely don't need to pass in the second half.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is doing the opposite of getting healthy over the past few weeks. It's really rather grim.
I don't like this spot for the Jags, man. I said on Tuesday, I feel like the Panthers are looking live.
It's at least at home. It's in their stadium that has a pool in it. Very
That's a good point.
No one wins in the bank.
Say an indomitable home field advantage at TIAA Bank Field or whatever. Man, we got to go. These stadium names, man, are just a joke. Like,
what's the Steelers? The Steelers is
Acrisure.
Acrisure.
Oh, that was a bad one.
Real bad. They had one of the only good corporate names, Heinz Field, at least.
Yeah, they did. You're right. Yeah.
Then Acrisure came to town. Producer Adam thinks, I thought he said the Panthers were definitely going to win. He said they definitely can win.
Yeah.
Adam, you got to go stronger than that.
Look, Trevor Lawrence is like, he's the Black Knight in Monty Python. He just keeps sustaining all these injuries, yet he is still somehow ticking. Ian Rappaport said that Ian Rappaport, it was really funny. He said he should not play, not as in like his expectation is that he does not play. He's like, it is physically, from my sources, everyone around him says, dude, you cannot be playing this football game. And yet he went on to say he might play. He's trying to push to play. I think he got a limited practice in today. So he's going to try and play through it, and it may ultimately cost them their playoffs if they make it. I guess they're doing this to make it, but good luck.
Denny, can Travis Etienne snap us? So Kyle mentioned the Panthers defense. One reason people don't have amazing passing numbers against them is it's very, very easy to run on them. Travis Etienne is in a horrible slump. Can he snap it against this awful run defense?
I mean, if not now, then I don't really know when. I mean, the thing is that I worry about, game script not being quite as friendly as you would expect for Jacksonville. And therefore, that sort of easy, like locked in 20 touches for ETN might not be there, but the Panthers are by every measure a bad run defense. Everybody tries to run it against them. Not everybody has had success of late, I will say. So that makes me a little tentative. ETN has been very frustrating. But this is a place, a spot where you need to fire him up.
Kyle, are there any actual takeaways from the one good Panthers game that happened to come against Joe Barry? I made Denny answer this question earlier this week. Bryce, I had a good game against Joe Barry. Any actual takeaways from that game?
Yeah, I mean, like as a data inclined person, one game isn't going to move the needle a ton. And I do think that when players come to the NFL, we should be updating our priors very quickly. So much is different from the college game to the NFL game that, for most players, I say, 10 games really isn't a meaningful sample size. And that's typically true. But rookie quarterbacks coming in and looking drastically different than we expected is a reason which I'm willing to sort of throw out the small sample size stuff. So this, moves the needle a little more than your average one-game sample size. It was a very good game. It was his best game by yards, by PFF passing grade, and it's not particularly close.
By the eye test, too, he was looking a lot more decisive and confident.
But we still have, 14 or 15 other – I think he missed a game. So 14 other games, for the most part, to say he has looked very bad. I do think it gives us some hope, though, that, get this guy some real weapons and a better offensive line, and he may not look terrible. I'm still skeptical, to say the least, but I do think he deserves to have a receiver who doesn't, fly out of bounds like the physics broken Madden when he tries to catch passes. Maybe
it would be really, really, really nice to not be Madden glitching from his receiver core. We are glitching. We have a short break. We'll be right back after this. This Sunday night, postseason position is on the line, and another chapter of an NFC North rivalry will be written. Watch as Jordan Love and the Packers travel to Minnesota for a battle with Justin Jefferson and the Vikings. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock, which, of course, Denny Carter brings us to the fading Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings, meeting up with roughly a 44-point team, 44-point total, and what has become a pick'em. Denny, what, if anything, Can we take away from that bizarre Nick Mullins start in Week 16 since they went and benched him? You said he had one bad throw. You were trying to put together a bit for Galaxy Brains when it was actually he had one really bad throw, and then 9 to 10 other normal bad throws. Just what do we say about this Vikings offense? We're making yet another quarterback change. Jordan Addison's really banged up. TJ Hawkinson's done for the year and maybe done for the beginning of next year. Like, what do we tell people about this Vikings offense? It's very, very hard to have a concrete takeaway right now.
Kevin O'Connell put Nick Mullins in there because he would, quote, run the system. What he didn't say is like Kirk Cousins, right? Just drop back and throw it. Jaron Hall profiles as a guy who's not going to do that. He's probably gonna run more. He's a very, very athletic guy. We saw him rush in his very limited opportunity before he suffered a concussion in his only start. So what I'm saying is this is really bad for the pass catchers. I think Justin Jefferson cannot be considered a wide receiver 1 here.
Ooh,
top 12.
I don't know about that.
Top 12.
He's still in the top 12, I would say.
I don't know. I mean, well, I guess with Hawkinson out maybe, but KJ Osborne, I guess, becomes interesting, especially if Jordan Addison is out with the lowest ankle sprain possible. Mostly though, it makes this Minnesota offense really, really unappealing. It makes this game unappealing. I think this is a really ugly matchup for fantasy purposes overall.
As far as I can tell, I didn't have an exact play-by-play data set, but the highest air yard share a player has seen in a game in this year is 94% for Darius Slayton. It probably is the numbers are skewed, I think, because players got negative air yards on screens. Okay. So it's not actually sort of zero sum in that way. But we might see a record broken by Justin Jefferson because Jordan Addison didn't practice. Obviously, TJ Hawkinson is out. KJ Osborne is completely just a guy. And the backups are not going to be doing a ton. So, man, by brute force, I think of course, it's a bad spot to have Jared Hall as your quarterback. But I think by brute force of target share, which could clear 50%, I'm still ranking Justin Jefferson as wide receiver 1.
I am too. I had him originally as the wide receiver 2 overall when I thought it was still Nick Mullins. That's not happening. But I'm going to that 8 to 12 range for sure still. For Justin Jefferson. Denny, you look like you have a final thought on the matter.
Yeah, with Hawkinson out, I've seen a lot of folks say, okay, well, it's Josh Oliver season. And I just want to mention that Johnny Munt ran 18 routes last week after Hawkinson went down. Oliver ran eight total routes. So I don't know if that's going to stay exactly.
But why would you bet on it in the fantasy championship?
Yeah,
don't do that.
I mean, I know they signed Oliver for a lot of money, and he seemed to be the tight end too. But folks, they like his blocking, and that's not gonna change.
Kyle, what is going on in the super, super banged up Packers receiver corps? Dontavian Wicks did not practice again Thursday. Christian Watson is still not practicing. Jaden Reed is practicing, but he's banged up. Who is the Romeo Dobbs is the only one who's healthy.
He's healthy.
What do we tell people about this really banged up receiver corps? Jaden Reed, the top 30, if he actually manages to suit up and play.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, I guess that's conditional on some of the other guys missing. I'd be sort of very surprised if Christian Watson, who did not practice and is coming off weeks of not playing, did not play. Whereas I still think there's a decent chance Wicks, who's had the ankle injury for 2, maybe 3 weeks, a DNP for him is more likely to be, quote, maintenance, as in you can't be practicing.
He had the chest injury.
They added chest to it, which is
he got blown up on his touchdown catch is when it happened against the Panthers, actually.
So he's probably 50-50. I'd bet a lot that Christian Watson doesn't play, obviously. Jaden Reed, we've seen the Packers, though. They've had guys come back. I mean, literally 2 of their sort of, quote, star players, and Aaron Jones and Christian Watson, have come back and immediately gotten hurt again. So I wouldn't buy a ton into Jaden Reed's limited practice as a guarantee he plays. I think all this points to Romeo Dobbs seeing a lot of targets. He's not my favorite receiver of the bunch when they're all healthy, but he's the only one who is quite literally healthy. And like you said, I think if Jaden Reed plays, he might be their best receiver when healthy. I mean, he's been playing really well this year. Even a limited Jaden Reed to me is a top 36-ish receiver.
Definitely top 36. Yeah, I wonder if I can get him in the top 30. It's an interesting situation. I almost never do see an entire receiver corps injured. And that's what the Packers have, with the exception of Romeo Dobbs. Only 8 touches for Ty Chandler last week, Denny. But now, so they might be adopting, if not necessarily a run-heavy game plan, definitely a run-heavier game plan. with Jaron Hall under center. Will there be enough touches for Ty Chandler to keep him relevant for the fantasy finals? Maybe not as an RB2, but definitely as a flex. What's the outlook?
Maybe a flex. I don't know. I mean, maybe a flex. He had 8 of 10 running back carries last week for Minnesota. Ran 10 routes to 1 route for Alexander Madison. So he had that going for him, which is nice. Neither running back saw a target. It's bleak. I just think this whole game is just super bleak. It's Jefferson and Osborne or bust, I think, as far as skill position players go. You got to okay, I know maybe this is clear to the Rotoworld football show listener, but I just want to be clear, CEH over Ty Chandler easily, that sort of thing.
I don't know if I'd say easily.
I don't
really.
He's over Ty Chandler, though.
I would say over Ty Chandler, and I was going to say I don't think the listener would just 100% intuit that. So that's a perfectly reasonable call out to make. I still don't hate Chandler in that some of those games to pick him. A team starting Jaron Hall is I get there at home, so 2.5 or so many points for that. But I mean, I don't want to say back and forth in a game where probably neither team scores a ton of points and they're close, and your quarterback is Jaron Hall. That's the scenario in which you're please, every first down, give it to Ty Chandler. Normally, we complain about these 1st and 10 runs. I will be understanding if that's the route Kevin O'Connell takes. So I still think he's top 24 adjacent, but CEH getting all the touches for the Chiefs is top 16. And of course, we're going to lose that bet. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but you got to do it.
Ty Chandler did have a better game in week 15 than CH has basically ever had. He's had 1 or 2 games like that.
Yeah, probably.
That's one of the arguments in favor of Ty Chandler. But if I were the Vikings, I would recommend playing 1 normal football game ever. I would do that at some point if I were the Minnesota Vikings.
No.
Yeah, please don't. The desperate Texans get CJ Stroud back against the Titans as roughly 5.5-point home favorites, Kyle. Is all the air out of this Texans passing game balloon with the injuries, or can we start CJ Stroud for finals week? Nico Collins playing through his calf injury. Noah Brown out there doing things. The state of the Texans passing game with CJ Stroud coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to be really excited to play the pass catchers and play CJ Stroud. Obviously, no Tank Dell, but the rest of the players are there and trending towards the healthiest they've been in a few weeks. Obviously, probably none of them are close to it at 100% health, but it's also a great spot for Stroud to come back to. The Titans are 30th in EPA per dropback allowed, and CJ Stroud's been an elite fantasy producer pretty much all year. So I still think it's a good spot to go back to if you've been holding on to him on your bench and you're looking at him versus Kyler Murray is one we've all gotten a little bit.
Yes.
To me, CJ Stroud immediately comes back and it's a QB1. Maybe I don't throw him right into the top 5 status he was at the peak of his powers a few weeks ago, but top 10.
I can't remember. I have him in the top 12. I think I do have him at QB 10, which feels maybe slightly aspirational.
Here's a good one. Him or Tua. I know what your rankings say, but vibes based. Him or Tua.
I think it's Stroud 1 spot ahead of Tua, correct?
I believe so. I'll pull him up now, but I was going off.
It's such a good matchup. I mean, the Titans aren't quite like the explosive pass funnel they were last year or even earlier this season, but it's such an important game for the Texans. Their running game is just not special. Their running game against the Titans especially will not be special. I feel like the volume will be there for Mr. CJ Stroud. And it is close between him and Tua, though. I will say that.
Oh, you have him 2 spots ahead. You have Jared Goff splitting the 2.
There we go. Jared Goff, keep the faith. And Jay Goff. I never bench Jay Goff on the road. I call him Jay Goff too. Start him every road game. Denny, Kyle mentioned the Texans pass. Anything to add with Noah Brown and Dalton Schultz? Are they startable? I don't know.
Schultz is. Because Schultz was banged up for a while, and so his route share was kind of all over the place. I think you can kind of toss him in there as a tight end too, and he's not entirely touchdown dependent, just from a PPR standpoint with Tank Dell out. So I feel okay about Schultz. Noah Brown. I think you'd have to project the Texans to be pretty pass heavy in order for Noah Brown to really get there. But maybe they will be. I mean,
they probably will be. I don't know. It is tough to say, actually.
They could be. I mean, if you want the funnel breakdown, you have the Titans pretty much not as either. They're just kind of in the middle.
They're a weaker pass defense. They are a weaker.
They have a dreadful pass defense, but I think it's sort of Panthers adjacent, where the quality of the pass defense, the run defense, doesn't inform the other team as much as the quality of the offense. Which outside of a 9-trick play game in Will Levis's first start, quality has not been great.
Which brings us to, sorry, Denny, final thought there on that.
Yeah, the Tennessee opponents have a 60% neutral pass rate over the past 5 weeks, which is dead middle, like right in the middle of the league, just so you guys know.
So, Kyle, you mentioned Will Levis. He's pushing to play. It seems like he is going to play.
Mm-hmm.
How live does that make Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins for the fantasy finals? It seems like not a good setup at all on paper for Derrick Henry. Almost 6-point underdogs. Texans have a pretty solid run defense, I believe. These are two fantasy superstars, but what are we doing with them for the most important week of the season?
I mean, it's really this is an injury report. I don't care too much about defenses, but this is an injury report to behold, as it has been for a lot of the year. But the Texans are without likely the back-to-back DNPs for this trio of Will Anderson, Jonathan Gennard, and I believe Sheldon Rankins as well. That's 22.5 sacks, if I remember off the top of my head, that all look, I'd say, very unlikely at this point to play this week. Their whole defensive line has just completely disappeared. They're going to have no pass rush. And as far as what this team does, they run the ball, then they do a play action. The play takes a long time to develop, but if it gets home, it's like DeAndre Hopkins open.
It's a 70-yard touchdown. Yeah,
it's a 70-yard touchdown. I mean, that's the trick plays. All of that is like these plays take a long time to develop, as do just their play action deep shots to DeAndre Hopkins. But when they do develop, it's a really high expected value play. So I actually do think having no pass rush versus the Titans, who, they're not that great of a team, it's a good spot for the Titans in that sense, specifically for someone like DeAndre Hopkins, who's 6th in the NFL in play action targets, has an elite air yard share, and that's only been going up throughout the year.
It does seem like he could be like a franchise killer of a loss for the Texans. And by franchise killer, I mean for this year. But yeah, it's going to be a classic AFC South battle. By the way, Denny Carter, Ziggy being a very bad boy.
He is being a bad boy, folks. We're listening to him bark at delivery guys upstairs. It's bad.
Ziggy, very, very bad boy. Russell Wilson was no, I'm not going to do that segue. Russell Wilson.
Go ahead, do it.
I'm not going to do it. Chargers, Broncos, the most pointless game of the week, maybe of the entire season. Broncos 3.5-point home favorites. They're starting Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah.
LOL. Who do we even care about in Chargers, Broncos? Literally anybody, ? Was my game note. Austin Eckler is doing things.
Eckler has a slightly more stable role after last week, I guess, maybe. With the new coaching staff, he seems to not be splitting the backfield so much, according to the numbers. So maybe you can sort of kind of trust him. I guess Courtland Sutton.
Well, Courtland Sutton's not practicing.
Is he not playing?
Concussion.
Oh, okay.
He's big old concussed.
Wow, big old concussed. He got concussed Christmas Eve night. It was Sunday. He could get cleared, but why clear him?
So Brandon Johnson is in play. That's what you're saying.
What about Kroll? What's his first name?
the tight end, right?
The tight end guy who scored on Christmas Eve. I had to write about it on Christmas Eve night.
Oh, you did not. I don't care. He could have.
It was borderline. He had 9 catches over the past 3. We hadn't blurbed him since 2013. so I did.
That checks out. Yep.
Yeah. So I did blurb him.
That's how everybody wants to spend their Christmas Eve.
It was. Yeah. My wife, she did stay. That was good.
Just barely.
Just barely. I had already done a lot of help wrapping. Yeah. I don't know. Is that it?
The thing is, quote, more targets for Marvin Mims and more targets for Jerry Jeudy. Those guys
Jerry
have been out there.
Real good stuff. Love him.
Yep. Those guys have been out there. Marvin Mims' roles ebbed and flowed, but it's gotten to a reasonable role in terms of routes over the past month or two. Hasn't translated to fantasy points. Jerry Jeudy has had the routes all season, has gotten no fantasy points at any point. Does the loss of the only good receiver help these guys that much? My intuition would be definitely not. Maybe a target or two more, but these guys, especially Jerry Jeudy, sucks in yard per target. Who cares? So
Jerry Jeudy is so happy I quote unquote bought low on him heading into the playoffs in my dynasty league. I gave him a 3rd round pick. I just needed another live body, and it would have been better off starting Darius Slayton.
You would have.
So I think Javonte Williams as a favorite against Chargers run defense. It's a pretty good spot for him.
I think it might be Julian McLaughlin's season. He was pace changing a lot in week 16, and they're in evaluation mode now. So even Javonte, it does set up on paper as a really good spot for Javonte.
I would love for McLaughlin to get a shot. He's excited.
That'd be fun. Gerald Everett seen a bunch of low value targets, PPR scam all the way, and zero chance of scoring a touchdown. Because also, they're without Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnson's a ghost. Mike Williams has been long gone. Josh Palmer in concussion protocol as well.
Keenan Allen just instantly retired the second that Justin Herbert got
it. Why would you not?
That's true. He was also like Trevor Lawrence. Every week he was playing through like a new injury.
He also was, yeah.
So we're I don't have a segue. We're done. Yeah, I'm tired today. It's over. The show is over. Check out the regression files. Check out the funnel report. Check out Kyle's 32 facts. Check out Kyle's start 'em, sit 'em. Check out my rankings as we embark on the fantasy finals weekend, beginning with Browns Jets on Thursday evening, blurred by Mr. Denny Carter because I have the week off.
Going to be blurbing hard.
Be blurbing very hard. You will hopefully be listening hard when Kyle and I break down week 17 on Sunday evening. Denny and I will be back podcasting next Tuesday. So for Denny Carter, for Kyle Dvorchak, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck this weekend. We'll catch you later.